Hi, this is Phil Shapiro. This is a very remarkable book, Last Child in the Woods by Richard Louv. Originally published in 2005, there's a new edition that came out in 2008. It's a national bestseller, and what a very fascinating book. This is Richard Louv over here. He's the author of 7 books about family, nature, and community. And he has written for the New York Times, Christian Science Monitor, Orion Magazine, and Parents Magazine. He was a columnist for the San Diego Union Tribune. And they have his email here, and visit his website, Children in Nature Network, www.cnaturenet.org. This is from the back of the book, the back cover. That Children in Nature movement is fueled by this fundamental idea. The child in nature is an endangered species, and the health of children and the health of the earth are inseparable. So, Richard Louv is telling us what we already know, but he is doing it so profoundly, with such insight, that you walk away with great wisdom and a better understanding of the world, and your values will be improved. This book makes you a better human being. This is also from the back of the book. He's appeared on the Early Show, the Good Morning America, CBS Evening News, Fresh Air, that's NPR, and also NPR's Morning Edition. And there is a website for this book called www.lastchildinthewoods.com. Here's some quotes I grabbed from this book. This book explores the increasing divide between the young and the natural world and the environmental, social, psychological, and spiritual implications of that change. It also describes the accumulating research that reveals the necessity of contact with nature for healthy child and adult development. During the research for this book, I was encouraged to find that many people now of college age, those who belong to the first generation to grow up largely in a denatured environment, have tasted just enough nature to intuitively understand what they have missed. This yearning is a source of power. These young people resist the rapid slide from the real to the virtual, from the mountains to the matrix. They do not intend to be the last children in the woods. So much of this book spoke to me. I grew up overseas. I lived in India and Denmark and France, and my siblings, we were often outdoors playing in the woods, on the beach, playing out in the snow. My mom would very often just kick us out the house. She said, just get out of the house. And she was a very loving mother, but she had us playing outdoors a lot on our bicycles, basketball, frisbee, going on hikes, nature hikes. So, and going out and canoeing and all the outdoorsy kind of things that really make your life more balanced. Here's another quote. Like many of us, too many researchers have taken the child-nature connection for granted. How could something so timeless change in such a short time? So Richard Louv is explaining that in his childhood, he was spending so much time outdoors, and that his own children are spending too much time indoors. They're either watching television, they're playing little cell phone games, video games. Oh no, please. Keep the video games out of the house if you can, I would say. And go out for a bike ride or family something. Even if some researchers asked the question, others dismissed it as an exercise in nostalgia. One reason is that there's no commercial incentive to ask. For years, James Salas has been studying why some children and adults are more active than others. He is the program director of the Active Living Research Program for the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, a multi-year effort to discover how to design recreational facilities and whole communities so that they stimulate people of all ages to be more active. So I read this quote. I said, I need to find out more about this man and the Active Living Research Program for the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. So I found this. Here's a Twitter account that you could follow. It's called Active Living Research. It's out of San Diego, but the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation's out of Princeton, New Jersey. And look at this. Isn't this interesting tweet right here? Ottawa, the capital of Canada, realizes it saves $41 per meter of road by building separate bike lanes instead of a wider road with a straight lane. So that's important knowledge right here for free. If you want to promote bicycling in your town, you can save money by building a separate bike lane. And it's probably safer, right? Here's the Active Living Research website. So that was the Twitter account. Here's the Active Living Research website. You can come here and look, they have a YouTube channel. You see in the top left. So you should be subscribing to their YouTube channel because you might learn something. Imagine that. You could learn something. Here's their user. There's James Salas, who I haven't met, but very interesting, good guy. And look, their YouTube channel has 150 subscribers. So that you need to help change that. That's very low. On my own YouTube channel, which is pretty pathetic in terms of I don't spend that much time promoting it, I have 1,300 subscribers. So here we have Active Living Research with 150 subscribers. We need to change that. You need to change that. Go and subscribe to them. Now, you subscribe by setting up a YouTube account. You don't have to be a video producer to have a YouTube account. All you have to have is a Gmail. YouTube's owned by Google. Just log into YouTube with your Gmail and come and subscribe. That's your homework assignment. If you're late, I'm not going to give you any credit. And no excuses. No excuses if you're late. So the second edition of the book also has a really interesting supplement about actions you can take. So there's 100 actions we can take. And this is neat. I wanted to scan this. And there's a whole section here on books. I work at a public library. I was thrilled to see this book. There's a whole list of books that you can and should be reading about being outdoors. And now, this book is published several years ago. And if you request a copy for your public library might not want to buy it because some public libraries only buy books from the last 2 or 3 years. So you just have to kind of insist. This book is a very remarkable book, and even though it's a little bit older, it's timeless. It's like Shakespeare. This book is timeless, and we got to get it into our libraries. And certainly buy it as a present for one of your friends. Buy it for yourself. Maybe buy a copy and put it into your little free library. Wouldn't that be a nice way to improve the world? Here is Richard Louv. So if you just search for Richard Louv on YouTube, there's a bunch of videos where you can meet the author of the book and hear him directly talking about his ideas. Now, along the similar line is, I'd like you to go to YouTube and look up Denmark Forest Kindergarten. So this is a very unusual and interesting video that you can see about how kindergarten students in Denmark sometimes don't go into the classroom at all year. Even in winter, they go outdoors to learn. So I happened to grow up for 3 years as a child in Denmark, and I loved it. And I went to a Danish school. I actually spoke fluent Danish at one time in my life. So I was very interesting to see this. I think they're understanding stuff about children in Denmark that the rest of us need to be thinking about more. We might not choose to do things exactly like they do it, but I think we can be inspired. And we can certainly have conversations to have higher understanding about human nature and how children learn and what's good for communities. I really recommend the Kaboom website. Kaboom, I think, was set up maybe 25 years ago, I believe, when they first started to build playgrounds and get children playing in outdoors. Daryl Hammond is the person, this good man, founded Kaboom, and he wrote a book, Kaboom, How One Man Built a Movement to Save Play. So you should read that book. I can't help it. I work at a library. You're going to hear that phrase, you should read the book, a lot. Okay, yeah, sorry about that. Let's Play America. This is a national organization. It's kind of new. It's founded by a friend of mine here in Tacoma Park, Maryland, Pat Rumbaugh. And she is very, very remarkable. I feel so privileged to know her as a friend. She has 2 TED Talks that you should go look at. Just look up Pat Rumbaughh, R-U-M-B-A-U-G-H, and TEDx. And she has 2 different TED Talks. Go and look up these TED Talks, share them with your friends and neighbors, and decide how you yourself are going to make your community healthier. Because we can do simple action by closing down a street and having a little street festival, or lots of things you can do to make your community healthier and more vibrant and more hopeful and maybe even more prosperous. There's ways that we can make our communities more prosperous by going to bat for one another in interesting new ways, right? Here's Pat Rumbaugh's other TED Talk. So, hope you found this book review helpful. It's just an overview book review. I didn't want to go too much into it. I just want to say this book is really, really interesting. I read a lot of books, and there's not that many books that really grabbed me like this book did. Richard Louv is, I would say he's almost a poet writing in prose, and very passionate about the cause, and you'll benefit and enjoy reading the book. I think you'll also enjoy reading the book. If you want to see some of my other book reviews, I've done about 50 of them. You can go to sites.google.com, site/site, Phil Shapiro Book Reviews. I made this book review. I'm using a free program called Simple Screen Recorder. I have an old laptop, a ThinkPad T400. It's almost 10 years old now. And I'm using something called Linux Mint. It's free software. Linux is like Windows or the Macintosh operating system, but it's totally free. And if you wanted to be making something just like I'm making, you could be doing it too. You have to find some people to help you do that. Ask around in your community. Ask at your public library. Ask whoever knows Linux. Linux isn't all that hard. I've done book reviews about books on how to learn Linux. So you can also go and teach yourself. So this is Phil Shapiro. I hope you found this helpful, and see you next time.